The eldest son of former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau was sounding a bit like his father today. 18-year-old Justin Trudeau is now a student at a community college in Montreal. It's one of many Quebec colleges gearing up for a referendum next week on the question of Quebec's place in Canada. Justin's position is clear, but as Neil MacDonald reports, Trudeau the younger likely won't be as successful in arguing his point as was Trudeau the elder.
And like in Canada, we find support too in the public opinion. Thousands of people shook hands with me in Canada. Many people are very nice people. We feel that very much sympathies with the people of Canada. Like with the people of the United States, because the people is United States is nice people too.
Despite the fear-mongering going on from the Conservatives, we will continue to stand up for American jobs, for Canadian jobs and Canadian interests.
On the occasion of 90 years of diplomatic relations between Canada and China, Canada and Japan.
The tremendous friendship that we celebrate every day between Canada and China. Thank you, Shinzo.
As an angry crowd of protesters surrounded a campaign venue in Cambridge, Ontario, the press conference was delayed for over an hour as the RCMP conducted a risk assessment. Liberal leader Justin Trudeau was defiant when he emerged.
Do we fall into division and hatred and racism and violence? Or do we say, no, you know what? That doesn't work to get us to back down. That won't scare Canadians from standing up for what's right.
While the crowd blared car alarms and shouted profanities, the Liberal leader pressed on with a message about climate change.
The sirens in the background may remind us that this is a climate emergency. That's why we will move faster and be bolder.
I volunteered, but I was in a truck for an hour waiting while you were here with a photo op.
I have
the most insincere thing I've ever seen.
I'm sorry, sir. That's unfriendly and unneighborly today.
The first of three pre-poll debates took place in Montreal in the French-speaking province of Quebec. Mr Trudeau came under sustained attack from his opponents, all taking aim at his decision to call an early election.
This is not the time for an election during a pandemic.
The Prime Minister triggered the vote last month, just 2 years into his 4-year term, saying he needed to ensure voters approved of his Liberal government's pandemic recovery plan.
6 years! 6 years!
The government and indeed Parliament needs an opportunity to get a mandate from Canadians, to hear from Canadians on how to end this pandemic.
Now, the event was supposed to happen in Bolton, Ontario, about 50 kilometers northwest of Toronto, but the crowd outnumbered supporters and started shouting expletives at the Liberal leader. That is when they decided to cancel and leave.
For your openness to actually hearing my answers. Thank you for challenging me. I need you to continue to challenge me, continue to pass those messages, and I will keep my promises. That is a commitment I make to you. That is a commitment I made to Canadians, and that's how I was raised. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Now, Justin Trudeau, who's the Canadian Prime Minister, has reiterated that his country will always stand up for the right to peaceful protest and human rights around the world. This was in response to when he was asked about India's stand that his comments will hurt bilateral relations between India and Canada. Listen in.
India today called in Canada's High Commissioner to complain about remarks that you made about the farmers' protests in that country. There's warnings that you've damaged relations between India and Canada. I'd like to get your response to that.
Canada will always stand up for the right of peaceful protest anywhere around the world, and we're pleased to see moves towards de-escalation and dialogue.
Some shouting at the Prime Minister as he left a meeting when women holding an upside-down Canadian flag up to the PM's vehicle, eventually being blocked by security. Trudeau was in the city speaking about expanding broadband internet infrastructure.
Later, with a trademark family shrug, the young Trudeau said he doesn't much care what his peers think of his views.
Everyone's got peer pressure at this age. I mean, there's pressure to smoke, there's pressure to do all sorts of stuff. And I've never been affected by peer pressure. Never.